Welcome everybody to Nothing Less Than Extraordinary. And I mean, nothing less than extraordinary. I get to meet Megan, and I'm sure she has such a powerful story to tell. So even just with the background, I mean, she has the same type of interest and the flow of energy. So I know this is going to be one powerful interview. So I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm feeling all giggly and excited. So Megan, thank you for being here. It's Megan Nolan, right?
Megan Nolan, yes.
Nolan, that's it. So thank you for being with us on this podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And it's so cool because when Megan said, I want to be on a podcast, and I was sitting there going, should I say something to Megan? I just like her energy. And I said, you know what? I wouldn't mind having her on my podcast. So I followed the intuition. I said, Megan, I have a podcast. So if you want to be on, you're welcome.
Yay, I'm so glad. Thank you.
And you were so fast, you connected. I was like, I didn't have a way to find where you were because, I was trying to look for your name and everything, and it got disconnected really quickly. And I just asked the universe and I said, oh, because I was like, I couldn't find Megan's contact. And it's so unfortunate. I love your energy. I think there's so much that you can give out to the world. So I'm so happy you managed to somehow have my contact and then reach out to me. Good job.
Thank you. I'm an action taker.
I love that. I love that. Me too. So for today's podcast, just so that people know what topic we're going to be talking about. So it's creating an empowered morning routine. So that is so, so good because I actually do powerful morning routines, slightly different from yours, but I have my own little thing that I concocted. So I'm 200% with you on that.
Good.
So a little bio about Megan. So Megan, I'm going to try to do as much honor to you as possible. So if I miss out on anything, please feel free to add in, jump at any moment. Okay. So Megan helps purpose-driven women to get out of self-care overwhelm. So she does this by creating an powerful morning routine that leaves them feeling, and I love this part, amazing. I love that. What a way to start out the morning. And you feel like a champion, a winner when you do that with the morning, powerful morning routine. I know because I do that. She is the creator of the Warrior Journey, which is her own unique combination of yoga, toning exercise, and mental fitness that will provide the tools that you need to be in a holistic, healthy, and happiness as well. So, and I want to be able to let Megan add to that part as well, because I think when you start off in that kind of right mindset and well-being, it is so much easier to tackle the rest of your day.
I agree 100%, which is why I'm such a huge advocate for it. And it really became part of my journey a few years ago when I was doing everything else but taking care of myself. And I was in what I call the stage of a worn out woman who's literally in that go, 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 frantic energy, waking up with your brain just kind of, yelling at you, hurry up, you have so much to do. You have like a mile long to-do list. No, you don't have time to do this workout right now. You have so much else to be done. You can do it later. And, we all know like later, it's probably doesn't often very happen. It turns into never. And so I found myself completely exhausted and burnt out and literally just struggling with anxiety and depression and just really tapped out. And as such, I realized that it wasn't working. And I had literally was trying to put all the pieces together, but I was forgetting the most important thing. I was not checking the most important box of all, which is taking care of yourself. And so I recognized in that moment that I wanted to begin to practice what I preach. And I'm a personal trainer. I teach yoga. And so I really felt out of integrity, out of alignment, that I was helping people do all of these other things, but yet really wasn't being consistent with my own self and showing up for myself. And so because I was so exhausted and burnt out at the time, it was a very slow journey back to feeling strong and healthy, but it was also a beautiful exercise in patience and compassion and trusting, and sometimes we have this sort of perfectionist view of, oh, well, if I can't do X a number of minutes of whatever yoga exercise, then what's the point of doing any of it all? And the truth is that every little bit counts and it all adds up. And so I started really slowly, and I realized that there is a way for us to really integrate all the key components, not just the components that your body needs to have lifelong vitality, but very likely that your spirit, your soul, your energy, your mind need as well. So you can integrate all of that into a routine so that you are tapping into that empowered mindset. You are tapping into your energy and your confidence. You are feeling calm and grounded. And it doesn't have to take all day because, we would love to luxuriate and have all day to do it. But if you can bring it together in such a way that it's something that does leave you feeling amazing and really lights you up, then you get into that habit, you start to feel and see the benefits, and then it becomes a non-negotiable. So that's really my journey with it. And because of that, I'm such a huge proponent of helping other people to do that too.
And I mean, what a true fact to that. I think a lot of women struggles with this, and I find myself in that same type of environment as you've just mentioned. And I have so many clients as well that they're so good at being caretaker of everybody else except for themselves. And then I
Mhm.
have question like, how do I do that? It's like, how do I do it without feeling guilty about it? So, there's so many component that comes into this. So the fact that you're tackling this issue, which is a really huge need. So I'm happy to be hearing that because there's so many of us, and you get caught into the routine, the machine, and the everyday functions that you kind of like just are going through the motions. You
Mhm.
become completely disconnected. So, I mean, in a way, I wish you didn't have to go through that to discover this, but I think by having gone through it makes you more credible in teaching what you're trying to bring in terms of message to all of the driven women out there.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that. And I also feel too that it gives me an understanding and a compassion because I've been there and I really can empathize. And so, as such, I also know how to get to the other side of that and to be able to truly show up for yourself with integrity in a place of alignment, making yourself a priority, not feeling guilty about it because you know that it is really productive. It's productive for us to rest. It's productive for us to take care of ourselves. And the more that we take care of others, the more we need to take care of ourselves. What like it really does go
Mhm.
hand in hand. And because when you are showing up in that empowered place, your energy is different. It changes the interactions that you have with people. It changes the way you speak. It changes the way people respond to you. It changes the emails that you write or how you lead your team or work with your kids or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Everything is affected by you and how you show up. And so knowing that, when you show up from that place of purpose and passion and presence, then it really does make a huge difference.
Absolutely, because it comes from within, and I like the fact that you mentioned something. There's so many things that fire off in my head when you're saying I'm trying to grab onto all of your idea. Like I'm like a hyperactive that gets overly stimulated, but by one sentence,
Love
Uh,
it.
but I think something that you mentioned here, just really quickly before that fades away again. So it's like grasping onto these thoughts. But you mentioned something about trying to do something, no matter how big, how small, whatever, it's still you're moving ahead. And that's one thing that I realized as this year I started doing, and my audience knows as well. I mean, they're going to get sick of me repeating myself here, but that they know as well. I committed this year for a 1 year workout of working out 6 days a week, working out, doing that. So I had to start off small. I mean, you want that's your big goal, but if you start with baby steps. So when I first started that, I didn't go tackle like doing an hour of workout each day. It was just like, if I can get downstairs in the basement and work out for 15 minutes for the week, and I did it like twice that week, kudo for me.
Yeah.
And it was hard because it was like, but who would actually cheer themselves for 15 minutes going downstairs for twice a week, right? But when you're starting out, because it's been so long and I used to love working out, but then COVID hit, and then I stopped exercising, and I became kind of terrified getting back into working out. Like all of a sudden it
Mm,
feels like it's an unknown and you get scared. And so going back to the unknown was scary. So you had to ease yourself into it. So now I'm at my, I think it's my 15 or 16 weeks. I have to look at my calendar because I track it, my 16 week. And I've been consistent of working out 6 days a week. And I am very proud of myself in the sense that there are days when it's easy. I can go downstairs, I can work out for an hour and a half, and I feel great. There's days, most days, I would say, there are most days where I just feel like snoozing
mhm,
when the alarm goes off. And yet I do the powerful routine, and now it has become whether I feel sad, whether I feel happy, whether I'm excited. Either way, I just go downstairs, do my workout, whether I like it or not. And I do it when I feel the least motivated. That is
mhm,
when I say, this is more reason for you to go work out, Ree. So I kick
mhm.
myself downstairs. It is a commitment to yourself, and I walk the talk. So if I say that I'm going to do something, I'm committing for 1 year. So I break it down into small chunks. So I think what you had said is really crucial. Just do it, whatever the amount, and do it in your own flavor as well, right?
Mhm,
Because you
mhm.
got to find what works for you. So I'm sure Megan is going to show you, like, explain a little bit of what those routine is, kind of gist, and then you kind of have to tweak it because you got to find what works for you. So there's a model out there, and if that works for you, great. But there's always a little fine tuning to make it more enjoyable for yourself.
Absolutely. And first of all, congratulations. That's
Thank
incredible.
you.
I love that you're showing up for yourself like that. Yeah. And yes, you're right. There's lots of ways you can do it. And one thing that people ask me all the time is what's the best morning routine? And
Hmm.
I tell them it's the one that you're going to actually do.
It's such a good one. Yes.
So there is no one best way and there's no right way. It really is figuring out, and it's almost from a place of intuition of what does your body need that day. Like maybe it's a day that you're feeling a little more wound up and a little more stressed out, and maybe that would be beneficial for you to do something a little bit more higher energy, cardio, dancing, whatever it is. Or maybe for you that requires you to do something grounding. So we're all a little bit different, thankfully, but there really is three pillars that I work with and that are pillars of the work that I do, pillars of the warrior's journey. And so the first one is to expand your vision. And so this can look like doing your meditation or doing your visualizations or your journaling or your affirmations, but it really is speaking to connecting to the end, like what goals you have for yourself, what outcomes you see for your life, your work, your business, if you have one, so that you can tap into that and you begin to see yourself in that vision. So there's a lot of science behind visualization, as well as the mental repetition of new beliefs so we can repeat them and rewire them into our brain. And so what we're doing there is you are really allowing yourself to get a sense for who that you is. What does that
Mhm.
feel like? How do they show up for themselves? What is their routine like? That's a really great place to start, because you can look at that and say, okay, well, the person that's worked out for 52 weeks, well, what does their routine look like? They definitely are working out consistently every week, and so you can get some information. So that's the first one, is connecting to your big vision and expanding it and taking it beyond what it just means for you
Mhm.
into what it means for the people that you are supporting, the ripple effect that you're having, the butterfly effect, if you will. So you
Mhm.
really tap into the energy of it. And we know that everything is energy. And so the next step is to begin to embody that frequency now. So embodying that version of yourself now. So Einstein had a beautiful quote that said, when we embody the frequency of the reality we desire, it cannot help but be ours. This is not philosophy. This is physics. So he's speaking to the law of attraction or the law of vibration, that he's speaking to when you tap into that higher vibrational state, when you're feeling good, when you're feeling grounded, when you're feeling happy, when you're feeling all those things, it does really set the stage for everything else in your life to shift because of it. So that's the second pillar. How can you begin to experience this now? And so this is where the embodiment and the movement practices come in. And so that you can begin to activate that way of being, because what we practice, we become. So if you want to practice being committed, how can you practice that? By showing up for yourself. If you want to practice feeling calm, how can you begin to do, yoga or breathing or meditation so that you can begin to feel calm? So that's the first one, is to expand the vision. The second one is to experience it now. And then the third pillar of it is, from that place of presence, from that place of empowerment and embodiment, decide 3 steps of inspired action that you can take today. Because when we have the mile-long to-do list, when we have 1,000,001 things that we need to get done, we very quickly go into overwhelm. And overwhelm is a protective mechanism of the brain. It's also a protective mechanism of the negative committee in our head that's kind of keeping us safe, if you will, keeping us small. So when you can decide on 3 action steps for that day, of course, you're probably going to have more, but what we're doing there is you're taking 3 steps forward towards your goals. And when you check them off the list, then you're beginning to shift your own inner chemistry. So when we do that and we check it off the list, you release more dopamine, which then leads to you taking more action, feeling more motivated, feeling more happy, all of those things. And so that third pillar is exhaling it into your life. So how can you breathe that new awareness into your life? How can you bring it to life, literally, by taking action on it? So that's kind of the framework that I like to use to help people create their empowered morning routine. And I like to have people set up a few options for themselves, a shorter duration one, perhaps just a couple of minutes long, maybe 25, 30 minutes, maybe an hour long. So it's one of those things that you can shrink it down, or you can stretch it out depending on what you have the time and energy and mental bandwidth for. But it really is that intentional moment with yourself, however many moments that is, but just the intentional moment with yourself.
Oh my God, there's so many powerful pillar and gist. I had to write them down. I was like, this is too good. I was like, normally I don't write them down because I'm like, I want to pay attention to you 100%, 200%, because I like to be present. But I'm like, oh my God, I have to write this down because it's so good. But just what you mentioned, I love how you actually have that. And we're going to repeat it. So the first one was expand your, is it not your vision? Expand your
Vision.
Oh, it is. Okay. So expand your vision. And I love the way you title it. And then the second one is experience it now. And then the third one is inhaling it into your life. And I love that because it's easy to remember.
Exhale it into your life.
Oh, exhale it. Sorry.
Breathe it out, whatever.
Exhale it into your life. So I love that because they're easy to remember. Good job. Like, honestly, it's fantastic. Because you can either, as you said, to come up with a shorter version, a mediocre version, or a longer version, depending on whatever day, whatever challenge you may be going through. But just doing that, breathing it all in and soaking it all in, it really has a huge impact on you. And I haven't done these 3 pillars that you mentioned, but I could just imagine, like, I remember every time I finish working out when I don't feel like it, like this morning, I was going to skip it. Then I said, it's a Monday. If I skip my Monday, I know myself. It messed up the rest of my week. So you got to know your weaknesses and your strength as well. That's why it's so important to learn to discover yourself. But by doing this, you get to be connected with who you are more at a deeper level. Then you can know what are your weak point, what are your strengths. So I know for me on a Monday, if I somehow skip the Monday, it sets the tone for the rest of my week.
Totally.
So I don't. So this morning I was like, my brain was trying to make an excuse and go, it's not that bad if you missed out your morning workout. You'll get a chance to catch up at lunchtime. You can work out at lunchtime. At your workplace, there's a gym. I mean, just commit to yourself at lunchtime. There's no other interruption. And there always is interruption because no matter how best I plan something always end up messing my day. So I don't even give myself the option. So this morning I said, nope, Monday sets the tone for my week. This is non-negotiable. I'm heading downstairs. I'm doing the workout. And when I was finished, I felt like the tone of the rest of my day. And I haven't even done most of your thing here. Like I'm going to try some of those, but imagine this is just a small little part of what I do. It's like not even 1/10 of what you're describing. And I
Right.
already feel the impact and the positive effect, like my interaction with my employee, my approaches with my kids, how I interact with my boyfriend. I'm just in a much more happier because when you're tapping in that frequency, and I love the fact that you mentioned with regards to Einstein, how cool is that? Is physics, it's the law of physics. Like once you kind of embody that, it's kind of hard to not believe that that is actually the life you're leading because now you become a totally different person. Like I never thought I wanted to be like an athlete. I don't see myself as an athlete, but now that I've been working out, I'm like, I'm starting to embody this, like, maybe I could be an athlete. Maybe I'd be able to realize my dream of wanting to be in a martial art competition that I always dream of
Oh,
as a kid. I mean, 40 years old, never too late, right? So I'm
never too
allowed to
late.
do.
Love it. Yes. Yes. And to just go a little further into something that you were saying there is that Mondays do set the tone for the week, and morning routines set the tone for the whole day. And Louise Hay said, the way we start our day is the way we live our day. And so that's why, again, like you said, it's such a, it can all go sideways and downhill if we don't start it in that good intention with that forward momentum, right? And so whether that's the beginning of the week or the beginning of the day, it does have a complete ripple effect. And I love that you know that, and that you really encourage yourself to go downstairs and do the workout, even if you don't want to, because typically those are the days that we get the most benefit out of it. And we can see the true benefit because we can have the contrast, right? Because there's a saying that said, no one ever regrets a yoga practice, or no one ever regrets a workout, because half the time you can get to the yoga mat or you can get to the workout and you're just and you're having an off day, maybe feeling a bit fussy or cranky or whatever. And then even if you just do a couple minutes, you notice the shift. And so the contrast creates so much clarity, and we start to really see, okay, wow, this is just a couple minutes and I already feel so much better. And very likely you will keep going, right? If you just tell yourself, I'll just do 5 minutes, then we end up doing more. But it really is that, just that knowing yourself, like you said, and really knowing that even on the days when we don't feel like it, it does have such an incredible shift. It creates such a shift in us.
It really does. And really use every tool to actually allow you to be successful. Like I know for myself that working out in the morning, knowing my body, how it works over time as I've learned about it, I burn more calorie throughout the day because when I work out, and depending on the research, everybody is different. But for my body is when I work out in the morning, I can do fasting, like intermittent fasting even longer because I don't like to eat. I'm not a morning breakfast person. And then when I work out, I don't feel hungry. I just want to drink water or drink my protein, and then it stretches out and I'll eat a little bit later. So I'm able to fast at least a good 13 to 16 hours. So that really allows my body to cleanse and also to burn higher level of calorie. And throughout the day, because I work out, I feel like the rest of my day, I'm just continuously burning more calorie than if I was to work out either at lunchtime or in the evening. They all have different benefit. Like when I work out in the evening, I'm super hyper. I don't sleep.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
very
good
common.
depending on what you're doing. And if that's your thing, if you're a night owl, fantastic. But for me, I need to sleep. I have kids. I got to wake up early in the morning.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
That's
Well,
it.
you're so right. And it really does stoke your metabolic fire, but it really also increases that internal fire. So, whatever you want to call it, like chi, or in yoga, we call it
Mhm.
prana, but it really does ignite that within you. So it does help you to feel more alive, more energized, more focused. And what it's doing too is, because when you're moving blood through your whole body, you're carrying oxygen through your whole body, which of course includes your brain. So when
Mhm.
we exercise in the morning, some of the research shows us that there's a significant increase in productivity. Some of the research says up to 72%. All of them agree that it increases productivity and focus and mental clarity and patience and, just idea generation, creativity. They all agree on that. Some of the fact numbers are a little higher than others, but the highest one is 72%. And so even if you're just increasing your productivity by like 25%, that's still really significant. And if you're really amping it up and you're having something that does support you mentally, physically, emotionally, then it's really beneficial. And the reality also is that human beings, we're not really designed to sit.
Nope.
And we do a lot of sitting. And when we sit, it really lends to us moving into that weaker, compressed, closed off, painful posture. I call it the ouchy slouchy posture. But it really, when we have the morning activity where you're very intentionally moving your body back into strong posture, you're engaging the muscles on the back of your body to hold that stronger posture, means you have less tension and less pain and less stress and more energy and more focus and more creativity. So it really is such a beautiful relationship. So it really does benefit you both in the moment and then throughout the rest of the day.
Oh my God. Like I love this discussion, and I told you I wasn't wrong, right? And thinking like this is going to be an amazing podcast today. So I'm like, Megan, I can't wait to hear what comes out. So I am super thrilled, and I'm so excited also for all of the my audience that are listening, but even on a broader scale, just like if you hear this podcast and you decide to do just one small thing different in your morning routine, I swear to God, and I'm sure Megan, you will be so amazed with just the little result. And then you're going to want to be motivated to do more. Like when I first started, I was like, I was just committing myself to working out, like, just because when I say something, it's important for me to do it, especially when I'm putting it out there on social media. And also to my clients, I always say, when I teach something, I have to test it out for myself first. So I need to be in alignment of what I'm trying to teach. Authenticity and integrity is very important for me. And so just that ripple effect of working out. Now my boyfriend is working out with me because he's like, now I'm not feeling really good because you're always downstairs 6 days a week and I'm laying in bed on my phone. So he's like, now he's like starting to work out. He's on his 4th week, working out 3 times a week with me. And you see, so it takes one to start it, and then the balls gets rolling. And so he feels great. Our sexual life, I mean, we had great sexual life, but our sexual life just, it took us to another level.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Because your hormones are changing, your mood is better, you're feeling good in your body. Like it's not just for you feeling strong and toned and healthy, which is great, but we've already talked about the benefits in the workplace and of productivity, but then also with your relationships, with your partner, and then also with your kids too. Because if you're feeling more calm, you're less snappy with them, and then you have more fun and energy time with them. It's like everywhere in your life benefits when you're taking care of your body.
Yeah, and it's so important because something about the physical, I couldn't put my hand on it, but I love working out. I love any kind of sports because sport is what I understand. And I remember that every time I'm working out, like this morning, I was doing my shoulder raise, and I increased it, the weight by 5 more pounds. And so I'm able to lift less, but getting through that last little stretch, it reminds me how like the analogy of working out, how it apply in so many area of life. Like, when you feel like giving up, like when I was lifting that last 5 and I was like, I could just give up right now. But then, you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. And when I did the last 5, of course I was screaming. I was,
right. Sometimes you have to.
That's it. And then when I dropped the weight, I was like, ah. And I realized this is what happened when we're so close to success. We just want to give up. But pushing yourself outside of that comfort zone just to get to that level, even if you didn't get the outcome that you want, you'd be so proud of yourself because you actually did something that you didn't think you could do, but you're actually much more stronger than you perceive, right? And I think I kind of probably took your quote here, but I'll let you say the right quote at the very end. But something about working out, and even when I did a 5K with my sister, which I never done, and I was only competing against myself with my own time. So I promised myself in that run that I would not walk, because that's a commitment that and there's no, everybody is different. So this was my own commitment to myself. I promised myself, however long the 5K took, because I was not a runner, but through the whole entire process, that I would continuously run till the very end, that I wouldn't walk. And so at the very last stretch, I still ran, but much slower,
Right.
much slower. And I made it within the time that I thought that I was going to be in, like maybe a little bit off, but still within that limit. And I realized something when I finish, it made me feel like if I could do this 5K, what else is there that I can actually do? What
Mhm.
more can I stretch? Where can I stretch myself? Where can I expand? It goes back to what you were saying. So
Mhm.
when you're working out downstairs, at first, when you started, you're thinking, I can't do this. And then all of a sudden you get into the routine. And now I use the routine. The routine now has become my saving grace, because every day my body has now become so accustomed to working out that to skip makes me feel really not well in my own body. Like I feel sick
Mhm.
when I'm not training. So, and there's day when I'll train more, some days I'll train a little bit less. On days when I'm super hectic and busy, even if it's just going to do push up for at least 15-20 minutes, push up and doing a little bit of weight, I feel better knowing I moved a little bit than doing nothing. So when you
Mhm.
have a powerful routine, it becomes so much a part of you that your body, your mind, and your soul craves it. So now it becomes like an engine that works on its own. You just have to just do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Very true. Very true.
Mhm. And I like what you mentioned too, with regards to the three things that you need to set up, because you could have a major list, but what's important for you on that morning routine? So we have, especially for us female, we have a checklist that's never ending.
Right.
So bad, so bad. But I think if you stick to three things that is most important to you, aligned to who you are, makes you feel good, makes you be tapping in that frequency, you'll yield the result that is needed. Like I think there was one of the experiment where they said, make sure there's so many different authors that says the same thing, but in different form. Do the main thing, keep the main thing. I think now I'm quoting the other author. Um, and this is Brendan. I forgot his last name. So do the main thing, let the main thing be the main thing. So do the most important thing first, right?
Mhm.
So three important thing, like if you want to grow your business, what is the three most important thing that's going to yield the most result fastest for you? Because we could do a shitload of stuff and
Yes.
we feel like we're being super productive, but it's not moving it at all. So if you focus on what is truly important that grows is and move, the handle
There you
of
go.
your
Yeah.
business, those are the things that you should be focusing on. So I love the fact that you mentioned if you can do those three, you already feel very much accomplished when you're aligned to your goal and what you want to tackle within your day. And each day, if you move consistently, success is constant, right? It's by
Mhm.
doing the same thing over and over, repeatedly, constantly, and eventually it gets traction and off you go.
Exactly.
hmm hmm I
Yes.
want to be able also, thank you. I want to be able also, Megan, for you to talk about, like, to the female who are like, when they come into your program and they're like, okay, this sounds great, but where do I start?
Well, really that it is with the end in mind. We always start with that first pillar. So it is like, who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? How do you want to show up? And that's where we start. So we look at how you can begin to activate that in yourself today and really beginning to fully embody that. So that's the starting point for everybody, is really tapping into that. And then from there, we work backwards of like, what's going to work for your schedule? What feels good in your body? What length of time, so that we can then customize. So inside my group coaching, there's a lot of resources that people have that they get to choose intuitively what their body needs that day. So maybe you just want a yoga session. Maybe you're feeling a little more energized and you want to do a cardio session. So there's an interval session that they can choose from, or strength training. So it's all right there. So you take out the overwhelm, trying to find what workout to do, what yoga to do. So it's all right there in front of you. And then when I work with people one-on-one, or also one-on-one inside the group coaching experience, is customizing routines. So working together and having sessions one-on-one virtually, or here on Maui, that's where I live, and then creating sessions for you to use in between our sessions that are designed for your body to stay in balance and even get stronger and more balanced. So there's lots of different ways that we can work together, but really getting started with what feels doable to you, what feels supportive to your body and gives your body what it needs to be both strong and flexible, because they're both very important.
And what feels good to your body? It's so important, because most of us don't know what feels good to our body.
Right.
So that's where you have to kind of really do the quiet and then the meditation and learning to connect with your body. I say your body knows. There's also, I think it was a Mel Robbins, she had said something about not mental intelligence, that your body detects signs before your mental. I can't remember what she had mentioned. It was like a research, like before somebody asks you, let's say they want you to sign up with regards to a course or a big decision you're about to make. So if you use the logical with your head, yes, it will be able to do the deductions of yes or no, if this is actually a good incentive to sign up for the course or not. But your body register it much faster. It's able to tell right away. If you start feeling like nauseated, feeling sweaty, faint, because your body already processed all of that data. It knows who you are. It knows how it interacts with the other person. It picks up on cue that you yourself cannot see unconsciously. And then it sends a signal to your body. So that's why I always say, and when people talk about that gut feeling that you have, it is so strong, because if you learn to be in tune with your body, you get so many answers. And now, like nowadays, I used to ignore my intuition because I was like, what is this crazy stuff? But now it's like my intuition learning, like when I'm about to make any big decision, like when I actually thought, do I let Megan come on this podcast? I was like checking it. I was like, Megan. And then I said your name. And then I asked, and then I said, she feels right. She feels like my type of people that I want to align with, the type of message that I want to bring forward. And I don't regret it. So thank you for making my decision so worthwhile. It is so good.
Well, thank you for having me. And I'm glad that you got a yes on that question.
Yes, exactly. And your smile is so beautiful. It's kind of hard to resist to. But your approach is really good. I like that energy, and I like the way you bring it out to people. I think there's really true benefit that people can actually take out of the program when they do the courses with you. So how do they go about, like, where can they go and visit? Do you have any upcoming training that you might want to share with my public?
Yes, definitely. I have a really great resource for you, and you can go and grab that at minimorningroutine.com. So minimorningroutine.com, all spelled out. And it is a 3-step mini morning routine for you. And it dives deeper into the pillars that we talked about today, as well as gives you some tools to be able to bring this to life in your life so that you can show up each day feeling amazing. So you can grab that, and then that way we'll be connected. And I do have lots of fun workshops and weekly sessions and stuff that you can tap into, but connecting via email would be a great start. And then I do actually share lots of fun tips and tools on my Instagram. So you can come and hang out with me over there. And over there, it's I am Megan Nolan. So it's spelled out I-A-M MEGAN-NOLAN. So come and hang out over there. I'd love to connect with you. And that way you can ask any questions that you had about anything that I'd shared. Maybe tag me in your morning routines. I'd love it.
That's fantastic. And if you can leave my audience with, okay, so when they, after hearing all of this, so they go back and they digest the info, what is the one first thing you would suggest them from getting into, like that they can do themselves at home to ease into it? I know each person is a little bit slightly different, but from what you had seen with your clientele, like what is the one way that they can start already connecting to themselves and honoring themselves, where in the morning that they can actually start doing things that are going to feel beneficial and more calming, avoiding the overwhelm?
Sure. So a really great question is to ask yourself, who do I want to be today?
Mm-hmm.
Who do I want to be today? And like you said, it's really listening for the answer. It's not necessarily getting the answer from your mind. It's tapping into the wisdom and the guidance of your heart. And your heart always knows the answer. Your intuition always knows the answer. So asking yourself that question and then realizing, okay, I have that knowing in my body. That means you already have that within you. So you get to bring it up. You get to practice it. So you can just start with that and then ask yourself, well, what can I do to begin to be that person now? And so whatever that looks like for you in the morning time. Or another great question is to ask yourself, where is my breath? Where is my breath? And so really just tapping into the breath. And even if you only have a few moments to take a few really big, deep breaths, and let that be wonderful. Let that be enough for the day, if that's what you have time for, right? So those are two really great questions. And the third one would be to ask yourself, what do I need to come back into balance today, or to get into balance? So it really is just that turning your attention inwards and checking in with yourself. What do I need today? Like, well, how do I want to show up today? How am I breathing today? And so it really is, it's really simple. And so sometimes when something's simple, we tend to, dismiss it because we look for these big, fancy, shiny strategies or what have you. But this is so powerful. And this comes from ancient practices, right? Like the tool sets of yoga and martial arts, they've been around for a long time. For a good reason, because they rely on these pillars of balance and breath and being. So that's really what I would suggest people start with.
Oh my God, if they can start with those, even just one out of those three, it's good. I wrote it down. What do I need today to get into balance? Just asking that question and then getting the answer and doing what's needed. So you feel more in equilibrium, like in terms of trying to, because just doing that, asking that question and then find that answer, even just asking that question, you already feel like you're being heard, as if your body, yourself. I find like when I was in a mode of production, there was one point where I had so much on my checklist that I needed to do for my business. I became completely overwhelmed. And I was telling my boyfriend that when you're on overwhelm, it's almost like you don't know how to stop. Like you have a checklist of things that you have to do. And I was constantly, it's almost like a cloud that was hovering all over me, constantly asking me to be overly productive. And I couldn't shut it down. Like, when you're in that state. And that's why when you ask yourself, what do I need today to get into balance? It allows you to create the shift. Sometimes you get into a certain mode and it's like survivor mode, and that's all we know. And we don't know how to disconnect it in order to reboot. So sometimes when you're feeling overwhelmed, it could be just the fact that you've been doing this for so long, your body has been wired, so it knows to only be producing the same energy. So asking the right question and reconnecting with yourself again allows you to let go of some of that overwhelm and just come back and center yourself. So thank you for that. I think I'm going to just from here onward, aside from working out, is just ask your 3 questions.
Perfect.
It's like,
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
have an
Gold.
amazing day. Just starting off with that. Thank you so much, Megan. And I
You're
also
welcome.
wanted to have you end with the last quote. I just want to make sure that I didn't forget anything because I love the fact that you mentioned how funny that your program is called the Warrior Journey. And I have a program that's called the Warrior Life Training. After
Mm,
I went through losing my little sister to depression and then doing
mm,
a divorce of 17 years relationship. And I came up with a program of the warrior of life, thinking I never give up. I feel like sometimes I'm like this punching bag. When you punch, the harder you punch, the faster and stronger I bounce back. So
wow.
so I love the fact that we are connected in that way. So I want to be able to have you end with your quote to inspire people, but also I want them to know like this is why Megan does what she does. She's gone through it before. She knows what she's talking about. Her pillar is just one little glimpse into what she can do for you in order to really expand you and bring the kind of relate like the relationship that you want with yourself, but also have a cascade of all of the benefit into your life, whether it's in your career, with your children, with your lover, friends and family. It has such a huge impact. It's a ripple effect. You start with one area and then you find yourself like, wow. Um,
Mm.
so the quote that you would like to end with, and I kind of stole that a little bit by piecing with something, but you have a better, you say it better, the quote. So I want you to end it with that.
Okay. Well, my favorite quote is that you are far more powerful than you give yourself credit for. Because sometimes we underestimate ourselves and we get caught in the stories of our mind. But like you said, we all have so much resilience and we all have this determination within us. And so knowing that you have everything that you need, you have the qualities, you have the tools, it's just a matter of practicing them. And that in every moment, when something happens it happens in our life, it really is happening for us to learn and to grow. But there's a space between when it happens and when we respond to it. And that space is where we get to practice being present. And that space is where we have our power because we get to decide what we're going to do, how we're going to handle it, how we're going to approach the situation. And sometimes, we go into reactive mode, and that's okay because we can always go back and we can revisit and we can look at it differently. We can learn from it. But sometimes if we put the pause in there, and that's where your true power is your ability to just grounded, ask yourself, what do I need? Where's my breath? Whatever it is, press into your feet, whatever it is that you do, then it gives you that opportunity to really tap into that knowing of what's next and tap into your power. And so you can move from that place of presence. So you're far more powerful than you give yourself credit for. So remembering that's my favorite quote.
And it's a very powerful one to remember. I think we truly, truly don't realize how much stronger we are until we actually go through the challenge, because the real test starts when the obstacle is there. We think either we're gonna be able to overcome this or not, but when that challenge comes, this is the true test, what you're truly made of, what is really gonna tap into you. And I think that's something that I always constantly have to remind myself. There are times when we don't always feel powerful. There are times when we don't feel like, we're a champion. So repeating that line to yourself until you embody it, I had to repeat that to myself for a long time before I feel like I was able to succeed in my life. And yet that is a powerful reminder. So thank you so much for that, Megan. I love having you on, and I eventually will down the road. I want to see where your business is at, where it's going. So I would love to have you on in the future, but just connecting with you and just your energy and your passion, it is contagious. Thank you so very much. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for being here and thank you for sharing your gift honestly. Bye, everybody.